MMA is undoubtedly the most violent sport on the planet. Using a mixture of attacks, the most basic and obvious is, of course, the punch. And some fighters have completely mastered the art, some more than others. With such a simple weapon in the arsenal, it's kind of incredible that some fighters struggle so much with standing up. Ben Askren. Today, we are discussing the best punches in the UFC, so don't go anywhere. First up, it's the Conor McGregor overhand left. There was a point in time in the middle of the last decade when Conor McGregor was absolutely starching everybody. He won the first 7 fights in the UFC, 6 of which came by stoppage via punches. And the big weapon McGregor had in his arsenal was the overhand left. On the feet, McGregor dominated, and it was no surprise then that years later he would go on to face one of the best boxers of all time, Floyd Mayweather. He is widely considered one of the best knockout artists in recent MMA, and wins over Diego Brandao, Dennis Silver, and the first Dustin Poirier fight show. His stand-up skills also got him out of trouble against Chad Mendes after being taken down. He was able to get himself up off the canvas and quickly knocked Mendes out with that trusty left hand. And then there was the iconic Jose Aldo knockout, who uncharacteristically rushed him straight out of the gate, only to be put down after 13 seconds after a perfectly placed left hand. He did something similar to Eddie Alvarez less than a year later to claim lightweight gold and champ status, which is why he finds himself on our list today. Next, we're talking about the GSP jab. Stay tuned. Georges St-Pierre is widely regarded as one of the greatest fighters of all time. He was superbly well-rounded and was capable all over the cage, and one of the best weapons in his arsenal was his jab. GSP used the jab so effectively that it was suggested at one point that he might be the greatest ever proponent of the attack. He used it masterfully, often to set up takedowns, but he also used it to inflict mass damage on opponents. Just look at what he did to Josh Koscheck's face. The man remained unbeaten for the last 10 years of his career and was more than willing to go the distance with his fellow fighters, using his jab to keep his opponents at bay and setting up various attacks on the back of it. Fighters such as Jorge Masvidal, Gegard Mousasi, and Rory MacDonald have since gone on to use the jab that GSP perfected in their own games, and have referenced the fact that the Canadians' effectiveness with it inspired them to base their games off of it. What was your favorite GSP performance throughout his career? The Adesanya left hook is up next. Stay with us. Israel Adesanya is a master striker. As he has said himself, he doesn't just throw and hope, he makes sure that every shot is picked to perfection. He also uses his opponent's movement to place his shots and is one of the greatest counterpunchers in the organization today, probably ever. And with a record of 1 loss in his professional MMA career, it could even be suggested that his striking is underrated. After successfully evading the wrestling of Derek Brunson, he stopped the UFC vet with a combination of knees and punches. The final nail in Brunson's coffin came with a perfectly placed left hook, which took the legs out from under him, and he repeated the trick in his first fight with Robert Whittaker in a blink and you'll miss it TKO. Exchanging blows with the current champ, Adesanya wound up a short left hook and landed it flush on the chin of Whittaker, knocking the champion down to the floor, then finishing him off with some ground and pound. Izzy has perfected the left hook so far in his career, and the weapon is one of the biggest he possesses. We suggest not standing in front of him and trading. Who do you think poses the biggest threat to Adesanya going forward? Justin Gaethje's right uppercut is stopping by now. Gaethje possesses incredible power for a lightweight, and his stand-up, although not as refined as someone like Adesanya, is one of his biggest tools. However, he grew up as a standout wrestler, so it is strange that he never really chooses to utilize this aspect of his game during fights. Gaethje dominated Michael Johnson in their 2017 fight and finished the fight via a flurry of right uppercuts. The native Arizonian used the same tools in his 2019 fight with legendary fighter Donald "Cowboy" Cerrone, setting up the finish with a couple of beautiful uppercuts. Having taken criticism from a few prominent voices in the game following back-to-back losses against Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier a few years back, Gaethje went away and sharpened his tools, focusing on not getting hit as much. Previously, he would charge into brawls, relying on his world-class striking to get him out of trouble, which it usually would, but once he focused on moving in and out, using attacks like the uppercut coupled with hooks, he morphed into the fighter we see today. Are you looking forward to Gaethje's world title fight against Charles Oliveira next time out? Next up, it's the king of the walk-off, Mark Hunt. Technically not a type of punch, more of a style, Mark Hunt perfected the walk-off knockout. Generally, in MMA, you were taught that once an opponent has been knocked down, you finish the job by following him to the ground and delivering some ground and pound until the referee calls the fight. But not Mark Hunt. Oh no. Hunt became synonymous with the walk-off, becoming judge, jury, and executioner all in one, deciding many of his opponents had already suffered enough, which he should probably be commended for. 10 of his 13 MMA wins came by the way of knockout, but he also took part in more than 40 kickboxing bouts, many of which were finished in the same manner. The Roy Nelson, Stefan Struve, and Frank Mir fights all ended the exact same way, proving that Mark Hunt was the king of the one-punch knockout. We miss him. What is your favorite memory of Mark Hunt? Let us know below. Max Holloway is stopping through now. We're not really focusing on one particular punch in Blessed's arsenal here, more his ability to put it all together. Time and again, he has proclaimed himself to be the best boxer in the UFC, and he kind of has the stats to prove it, having stopped many people's featherweight GOAT, Jose Aldo, in back-to-back fights with a flurry of punches, then absolutely tearing Brian Ortega apart in his next fight. The performance was widely recognized as one of the most one-sided fights in UFC history, and Holloway used his boxing to methodically pick Ortega apart. After his return to featherweight following an unsuccessful fight at lightweight against Dustin Poirier, he then took on Alexander Volkanovski, losing both times. However, the second fight was incredibly close, and many people had suggested Holloway's boxing was the difference, but the champ got the nod, unfortunately for Max. And next time out, he delivered one of the greatest ever performances in any division in UFC history, absolutely battering Calvin Kattar for 25 minutes. Kattar, who should really have been given a reprieve by his corner, took some of Holloway's best shots, and the Hawaiian was toying with him by the end. His boxing in this fight, plus the following fight against Yair Rodriguez, really was a joy to behold. Do you see Max regaining his title in the near future? We have Amanda Nunes and those hooks now. Stay with us. Nunes is widely regarded as the best to ever do it in the women's game, which is backed up by the 2 wins she holds of Valentina Shevchenko. A world-class pressure fighter, she uses her hooks to get in close and inflict maximum damage on her opponents. She also used her striking to beat up Ronda Rousey back in 2016, something which really announced her to the world. Often landing the hook up high, her power is also second to none, and although she recently lost her title to Juliana Pena, the pair are set to do battle again after the current The Ultimate Fighter season has aired, which they will be both appearing as coaches on. If Nunes can put together her world-class stand-up and land that incredible hook much more than she did in her first fight with Pena, there is no reason why she can't take her title back to Brazil at the Venezuelan Vixen's expense. But she will need to go back to the drawing board and focus on putting the pressure on Pena, which she has done so successfully in the past, against a who's who of the women's game. Who do you have in the rematch? Let us know below. As always, thanks for stopping by today, and remember to join us next time for some more fun and games. Also, why not do us a solid by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel so not to miss out on more great content in future. Bye guys!